good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to listening public here on the island of Nevis. Those of you who are on our sister St. Christopher, those who are in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, wherever you are. We have fans and listeners as far away as Belize. We have fans and listeners all the way in Taiwan. Wherever you happen to be, good evening to you and welcome to another edition of On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and tonight, as always, we hope to have a show that will enlighten you, that hopefully will enlighten me. And the beauty of this show, of course, is that when we open the lines, we talk about whatever you want to talk about. As I like to say, this is your show. It is a show where we encourage and invite all shades of public opinion. Of course, I have very strong opinions on a number of matters, but that doesn't mean I'm right. You have your strong opinions as well. What we do on this show is we exchange views, and even where we disagree, we do never get disagreeable. We don't try to disrespect each other. We try to maintain the standards that Von Radio is known for, where only the best will do. Now, the show this week, we have a very special guest. And he's only going to be here with us for a few minutes, but he has something very important to do. And as always, I try to engage him in a conversation. This has become almost a tradition now, where on The Mark, at this time of year, we have this very special guest. I speak of none other than the one and only Keith Scarborough, MBE, better known in the calypso world as King This and That. Welcome to On The Mark.
Good evening, Mark, and good evening to all the listeners via VO and radio and the various media houses out there in the wider world. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's indeed an honor to be on your program once again.
Well, we know that Culturama 49 is in the air, and when that happens, we know that we can expect you to come calling. You have consistently been a part of Culturama for all of these years. In fact, this would be your what year?
48.
Your 48th year singing calypso of 49 years of Culturama. And that is indeed an incredible achievement. It means that you really have been consistent, the level of consistency that we have not seen anywhere else. In any other island, we see people who compete and then drop out and come back and drop out, but you have been consistently there and consistently excellent. So that, I think, speaks for itself. In those 48 years, how many times have you been crowned?
12.
12 crowns.
12 crowns.
First runner-up?
13.
Second runner-up?
9.
And then the rest, last?
Keith.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, let's do the math then. You've appeared 48 times. You won the crown 12 times. You have been first runner-up?
13 times.
13, that's 25. And you have been second runner-up?
9 times.
9 times, that's 34. So of the 48 attempts, on 34 occasions you were in the top 3.
Yes.
That is remarkable indeed. King This and That. This and That, you're here. And every year it has become a tradition for you to come here on The Mark and to release a song. You seem to be a little early this year.
No, actually I'm later this year.
You're late this year?
I'm later this year.
Maybe I'm losing track because
later this year.
This is only May. And it seems like I usually see you guys in mid-June. So this year then, you are a little late. I just felt like it was a bit early this year.
I'm normally about the 25th of May.
25th of May. All right. So give us a little taste of what this song is about before we do the live. I'm assuming that it hasn't been released publicly yet.
It has not.
Okay. So the big release is tonight here and On The Mark.
Yes.
So give us a little flavor of what the song is about.
I think it's one that you're going to like. Really, it's one called Building the Country. And as usual, my songs normally speak for themselves. And so once you hear the song, it stays relevant to topic throughout. And it gives you the whole message as to what the song is about. So you wouldn't have to wait too long to understand what the song is about. But it's a song that you would like, I presume.
Okay, well, I have not heard it, and one thing about King This and That, I don't even believe his wife to hear these songs before he released them. He keeps them on the lock.
She normally hear it the day before.
The day before. He keeps them on the lock and key. So tonight, really and truly, we're all experiencing this song for the first time. And this King This and That is your first piece that you're releasing tonight.
Yes.
And when can we expect the second piece from you?
About the same time next month.
Next month, okay. So you're going to give us one a month?
Yes.
This is the very last day in May, today. And you have brought a song. The name of the song again?
Building the Country.
Building the Country. Can we take a listen to the grand release, the world premiere, right here on The Mark of Building the Country, King This and That for Culturama 49.
prosperity. Moving on together as one. Good governance and real integrity is priority number one. No more rancor, hate or enmity. No more division in this nation, because I'm tired and I'm weary hearing the complaints daily. We ain't getting this, we ain't getting that. It's time we pull together and make this country stronger. The time is now, we ain't turning back. We're moving forward, Dr. Brantley. You have a real opportunity to build. I say build. Put your shoulders to the wheel. Let the country see and feel as you build. I say build. Let history be your guide. Put loyalty by your side. Success, my friend, will come once you are mine. So let we build this country. Build block by block. Brother, build non-stop. Let the people see you're building for everybody. Take the hand and hammer and let them understand, man, that it is your plan. That's all you have to do, my brothers. Keep building, keep building. Do not be distracted by the enemy. Stay focused and forge ahead. Sail this ship of state to its destiny, to a place we don't have to beg. This new direction must be positive for all the visions and decisions, so that everybody could afford to live. Want to keep the momentum. What you develop is economy. Your leadership will be number one, and no opposition could prosper once the two of you deliver on the things you said that you will do. The nation will be grateful. Don't worry about who's spiteful. Them and all receive the light too. We're moving forward, Dr. Brantley. You have a real opportunity to build. I say build. Put your shoulders to the wheel. Let the country see and feel as you build. I say build. Let history be your guide. Put loyalty by your side. Success, my friend, will come once you are mine. So let me build this country. Build block by block. But I'm building non-stop. Let the people see you're building for everybody. Take the hand and hammer and let them understand, man, that it is your plan. My people, this verse is for you. There's so much we can do to make things right. If we truly love this nation, forget the past, the future looking bright. If we pull together as one, I don't see improvements in the health sector, improvements in tourism, and I see progress in agriculture and electricity generation. Yet someone to convince you and me nothing at all happening in this land, and they spread the propaganda all over the news media at home and abroad consistently. Success, my friend, will come once you abide. So let me build this country, build block by block, brother, build non-stop. Let the people see you building for everybody. Take the hands and hammer and let them understand, man, that it is your plan to build it. Another big message from the king.
That is King This and That. Build a Country, brand new song for Culturama 49. King, what is the inspiration for this tune?
Well, I remember what transpired last federal elections. 'Cause if you realize this song is more of a federal nature than local, and I realized what almost transpired. So I thought I will address that issue. Of course, there are other issues that caused that song to come together. And I did that when I was in England. I had some spare time, so I was able to look at it from a distance and work on that song, and that's what came up.
So you would have done all the writing and recording in England?
No, the recording was done here.
Done here,
Yes,
okay.
I write that by my good friend Wes.
Okay.
There in Coal Hill.
Yeah, you tend to use local producers.
Yes,
on your
for the last 15 years.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it. This is King This and That for Culturama 49. Next year, of course, we have Culturama 50. And I'm sure you're going to be pulling out all the stops, because that is the big one in terms of a homecoming celebration where we're inviting Nivisians and Kittitians all around the world to come home for Culturama 50. It will be your 49th year competing. If you come back next year, you plan to come back next year, King?
If
I need to say when. Well, that is the spirit. King This and That. Remarkable. He has indicated tonight that this is his 48th year competing in Kaiso. Culturama is only 49 years old, so he has been there 48 out of 49 times. He has won the crown 12 times. He has been first runner-up 13 times. He has been second runner-up 9 times. And the rest, he said, they cheat him. So, King This and That has been in the top 3 35 out of 48 times. I believe that is a math that we worked out. It means really that I'm in the presence of greatness, a real legend in the art form of Kaiso. We don't just say so. They say the statistics don't lie. And the statistics speak for themselves in terms of longevity and consistent excellence in the art form. I congratulate you, sir.
Thank you.
MBE, Keith This and That Scarborough, coming with a big tune. I think a tune that many people are going to be talking about. What I like about it, it has a very powerful message, but it also has a very catchy beat. And the way it is sung, I think it will force people to listen and to take stock in terms of where we're going. They say Calypsonians are our storytellers. They are the ones who tell our stories for us. And so in a very real way, you have contributed significantly, King, to keeping Culturama and our cultural art form alive.
Yes, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and I hope the fans who was asking all the time, when are you coming, well, I'm here now. I hope you like the song. And to the critics, I normally love the critics because they're the one that inspires you most, because I want to see you fall, so you got to stay strong. So I love the critics as well. I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity tonight.
Well, thank you, my brother, for being here and for choosing On The Mark, a big platform for a big tune.
The biggest platform.
Thank you very much. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Keith Scarborough, MBE, King This and That, who is performing in his 48th year of Kaiso and 48 years on a trot consistently. Every year for 48 years, this man has been here with something new, something to make you dance, something to make you sing, something to make you think. I really do feel that we ought to celebrate an icon who is Keith Scarborough. Thank you. And the name of the song again, Building the Country. Very powerful message. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now go back to regular programming, so to speak. The king has left the building, and you are now here only with me, so you don't have a king anymore, you just have me. But I am happy to report that if you're saying I'm dressed a little Natalie this evening, it's because I'm coming from church. I was at the Anglican Church in Gingerland, the St. George's Anglican Church, where there was the ordination of a new priest, Reverend Father Crispin Gums. And it really was a solemn affair, and at the same time a joyous affair, solemn and joyous. It's odd that I use those two words, but as I looked at it and I realized the solemnity, the ceremony, the ancient traditions that apply, and I recognize as well the joy of this young man taking that bold step to serve the Lord in a significant way. I was very impressed with what I saw. I could not stay for the whole event. Naturally, I had to be here for 8 o'clock, but I'm sure by now it is over. But I was there when he was presented as Reverend Father Crispin Gums. I wish this new priest all the best. I'm told that this is the first ordination that was done in Nevis in the past 40 years. And I was also told that it is the first that is being done in Nevis, with, of course, our beloved bishop who was there and who was the man who led the proceedings. And so we are very, very pleased that we had the occasion to be there this evening and to have experienced this really wonderful event. And so I give God thanks and praise for Reverend Father Gums, and of course wish him all the very best in his sojourn in the vineyard of serving God. We have had a lot happening, and I want to get to some of it before I, of course, open the lines. I want your feedback on King This and That, what sounds to me like it's going to be a major hit for this Culturama bill in the country. But we have a lot of matters to discuss. Last week was a very historic week here on the island of Nevis on a number of fronts. We had first a sitting of the National Parliament last Thursday. And it was the first time in memory, living memory, that the federal government and the NIA came together in a tangible and visible way. We had two bills that went before the Honorable House for debate. They were the Island Administration Civil Proceedings Bill and the Crown Proceedings Act Amendment Bill. And those two bits of legislation were simple in their terms, but profound in their effect. And for those who may not have been paying attention, it is the first time that we are aware that legislation was jointly crafted and drafted by the Office of the Attorney General in Bastia and the Office of the Legal Advisor here on the island of Nevis. I want to publicly thank the Honorable Attorney General Garth Wilkin and the Legal Advisor to the Nevis Island Administration, Madam Helen Lewis, for collaborating, and their offices for collaborating in this way. Now, why was it so significant? It was significant because of the level of cooperation and collaboration. It is significant because it sought to solve a serious problem. And what was that serious problem? That serious problem was that the Honorable Court of Appeal last year in August delivered a judgment that could only be said to have been a bombshell insofar as the legal fraternity is concerned and the state of the law is concerned in St. Kitts and Nevis. In a matter called Ocean Reefs against the Nevis Island Administration, Ocean Reefs, a company, sued the Nevis Island Administration and obtained against the Nevis Island Administration a default judgment. A default judgment simply means that the Nevis Island Administration did not file its acknowledgement of service in time. And so there was an issue that arose because the Nevis Island Administration argued that the default judgment should be set aside. And one of the arguments that it used was to say that the default judgment should be set aside because the suit when it came, the claim when it came, was served on a junior person at the legal department. And that was the central focus of the discussion. The master granted the default judgment. The High Court refused to set it aside, And so the Nevis Island administration appealed to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal had a simple, discrete issue in front of it. And that is, should it or should it not set aside a default judgment? That was the issue. There was never an issue about the juridical nature of the NIA, the constitutional capacity of the NIA to sue or be sued. Those issues were not before the court, but the court decided of its own volition that it wanted to decide the issue of whether or not the Nevis Island administration had the legal authority to sue and be sued. Whether it was of such a juridical nature, being as it is a construct of the Constitution, that it could sue and be sued. It seemed to many an odd question. It seemed an odd question because the Constitution that creates the Nevis Island administration is the supreme law. And as the supreme law, it sets out in section 106 thereof a series of matters in which it says in its own terms that the Nevis Island administration has exclusive responsibility. Now, I don't know about you, but my dictionary tells me that if you have exclusive responsibility for something, it means that it excludes any authority on the part of anyone else. That it lies within your purview and only within your purview. And yet the Court of Appeal came to the startling conclusion that the Nevis Island administration, even in relation to matters where the Constitution, our supreme law, grants it exclusive authority, that it had no power to sue or be sued. It created an instant nightmare. It created chaos and confusion. One, because it set 40 years of precedent on its head. Two, because the NIA, as we know, employs people. The NIA has over 2,000 employees. The NIA grants contracts. The NIA awards contracts. We've just awarded a contract to Surrey Paving to do a road, the Island Main Road that they've just finished. We have borrowed money from the Bank of Nevis. We have borrowed money from the National Bank. These are all contractual obligations. And yet the court said to us that we have the authority to contract but not the authority to sue. And so, since we can't sue and we cannot be sued, it means that the banks, for example, cannot sue us if we were to default. That the various persons that work with the NIA cannot sue us if it is a claim in the civil courts. And that was the conclusion arrived at. And so we were all startled by it, because not only did the court decide to decide a question that was not properly before it, the Court of Appeal also took that position, notwithstanding that the question was not canvassed below. That is the constitutional question of what is the juridical nature of the NIA and does it have the authority to sue and be sued. So the court did all of this on its own volition and came to a conclusion which, interestingly enough, departed from the considered consensus view of all the lawyers who appeared in the matter. So the court invited the lawyers in the matter and the Attorney General to make submissions to the court on that issue. All concluded that the NIA had the authority to sue and be sued, citing authority from way back since our independence 40 years ago. The court disagreed with all the lawyers and came to its own determination that the NIA had no authority to sue or be sued. And so that is the confusion that we found ourselves in. Now, how can we run a government which is clothed with constitutional authority, said to be exclusive by our supreme law, but unable to sue or be sued to enforce rights? How do we deal with that? And so the option before us was to appeal the decision of the Court of Appeal to His Majesty in Council, the Privy Council in England. That would have required us, no doubt, to fine a few £100,000 sterling and to brave the dark winter of England to have this matter adjudicated there. The other possibility available to us was to seek legislative intervention. And since the court says there was a problem, to fix that problem legislatively. And so, through this collaboration, historic as it was, between the Office of the Attorney General and the Office of the Legal Advisor, we were able to come up with the Nevis Island Administration Civil Proceedings Bill, which did two things. One, it made it pellucid that the NIA can sue and be sued in civil proceedings. And two, it said that for those suing the NIA, they can serve the office of the legal advisor, or where any officer of the NIA is named, they can sue that officer. And so, in one flick, if you will, of the legislative pen, we have made it abundantly clear that the NIA can sue and be sued in civil proceedings, and it made it clear who is to be served when the NIA is sued. That clarity, I could have heard the sigh of relief across the legal fraternity, across the business fraternity, across the investment fraternity, all of whom naturally were in a state of confusion having read this extraordinary decision from the Court of Appeal. We then went on and we passed the Crown Proceedings Amendment to ensure that the Crown Proceedings Act reflected the reality that now was and that came from the Nevis Island Administration Civil Proceedings Act. So it was an historic day. One would have thought that this was something that would have had unanimous support. The government, in its wisdom, although I thought it was not necessary, decided to do a poll in the Parliament to ensure that we had at least a 2/3 majority. As it turned out, there were at that point 10 elected members in the Parliament. 5 elected on the opposition benches, 5 elected on the government benches because the Honorable Marsha Henderson was abroad on business. As it turned out, the Honorable Sean Richards of the People's Action Movement departed before the vote on the bill, and the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris of the PLP, he too departed before the vote on the bill. It left therefore the three of us from CCM, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and myself, and the 5 on the government side, and the 5 elected plus the 3 elected, the 8 elected members in the House said aye when polled. They then went on to poll the appointed members, and all present also said aye. There were no nays on either bill, and as a consequence, both bills passed with near unanimous support. Now, there was a tremendous level of posturing in the House last Thursday, pontificating, creating a sound and fury that we were somehow doing something wrong. And I would want to reassure the public that what we did last Thursday was in the best interests of the people of Nevis and of the people of St. Kitts. What we did was to correct a problem which, if left uncorrected, would create havoc not only for the Nevis Island Administration but also for the federal government. Imagine if the Court of Appeal decision were to stand as the law of the land. It would mean that the Attorney General's office in St. Kitts would be sued left, right, and center about things that it knew nothing about. It would be sued on any error, any contract, any matter involving the Nevis Island Administration. Conversely, the Nevis Island Administration, no matter how correct it was in its legal position, could not go to court to enforce that position unless the Attorney General agreed. We had been set back, ladies and gentlemen, to the years prior to our Constitution, when Nevis had no authority, no power. That is what we were faced with. And the fact that through partnership with the federal government, NIA and federal government working together, we could have achieved this solution and brought it to the House to bring relief, to bring light to a situation which had become murky, to prevent chaos and confusion, to ensure that we clothe the NIA with the necessary authority, and at the same time protected the office of the Attorney General and by extension the federal government from being embroiled by a sidewind in every dispute involving the island of Nevis. We did a service to the people of our country, to the people of our nation last Thursday, and for that I am grateful. I'm grateful that I was there for what I consider a most important day in the life and times of the people of St. Christopher and Nevis. And I wanted to say that tonight because there are some who, despite their spurious claims that their bloodline extends to the island of Nevis, in their actions, in their utterances, in their behavior, we understand that they have a deep-seated loathing, a deep-seated hatred for the island and the people of Nevis. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. But everything that they do, and we well remember during the last election, when various meetings and tapes were leaked, when all this was said about the people of Nevis, so we want sink its people money, and money they want up there, all they want sink its is their money. What money did Sinkis have? The money that was the debate was the citizenship by investment money. And the citizenship by investment money came from what? The negotiation of the St. Kitts Nevis passport. You hear what I say? St. Kitts Nevis passport. It is a national asset. So how the money from the negotiation of a national asset becomes St. Kitts money? And that is all that we were saying. But the response is they say, you don't see fall bottom till wind blow. And when the wind started to blow, the Shenshe fall, you saw everything. Lift up your frock and put it over the head. And that is really what happened. We must not forget our history. You know, a lot of them are going to come now. They're going to say all manner of things. But when the opportunity was there to demonstrate love of country, the whole country, not just some, they were missing in action. And this debate last Thursday was yet further evidence of the disregard for the people of this island called Nevis. But I tell you something, and I say it now boldly. So long as I have breath in my body, I will stand up for Nevis. So long as I have breath in my body, I will stand up for Nevis. And you see those two men, honorable men with me, Eric Evelyn and Alexis Jeffers. You know, I know that I don't need to look back, look left, look right, because they'll be standing with me. That is what we are made of. I know they cannot be bought because people try to buy them already. We cannot be bought. We are here to stand up and to do the people's work and to do what is right. And so all that pontificating and procrastinating and pomposetting, and then the spurious articles that came forth that there was some kind of conspiracy to attack the court and all this manner of nonsense. At the bottom of it is a serious hatred for the people of this beloved island of Nevis. And if you hate Nevis, you can't love me. Let me make that very clear. If you hate Nevis, you can't love me. Because I am Nevisian. Nevis is me and I am Nevis. You cut me, you see Nevis. I am not going to shy away from that. Everybody's proud of where they come from. But you can't stand up on the one hand and claim and tell people who and who in your family come from Nevis. But when the time comes for you to demonstrate that brotherly love for the island, you do everything but. And that is why I say, woe be unto those who, having seen the nature of some people, continue to try to hold on to them, including some of those right here in Nevis, in the Nevis Reformation Party. And that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. I went in my press conference and I spoke about desalination. We had to get 2 desalination plants in this country. And I am proud to go on record and say that I, as foreign minister, negotiated them both with the United Arab Emirates. It has taken a long time, but I'm told now that we are on our way. The one in Nevis is going to be over in the Butlers area. Now, I said in the press conference that a contract had been awarded to Kelly Construction in St. Kitts. And as a result of that, the leader of the NRP, Madam Janice Daniel Hodge, put out a big article. Say I'm misleading people and I must come clean and all kind of foolishness, because according to her, I had said sometime before that a company called Mascara had been awarded the contract. Well, you see, sometimes I believe if you don't understand how things work, then it will be useful to ask a question. Many a fool can be made wise by asking. Teacher, teacher, that's why they say in class, you put up your hand, teacher, teacher, I don't understand the sum. Why you say 2 + 2 = 4, how you get that, teacher? That's why you ask question, you put up your hand. Dr. Hodge knows my number. She can call and said, Mr. Brantley, the press conference, I really didn't understand what you were trying to say. I didn't get it. Can you explain it to me? But no, big article, I'm trying to mislead. But all of this happened, ladies and gentlemen. The contractor for the project is Mascara. But Mascara has subcontracted a local contractor, Kelly Construction. That is all. It is no mystery. It is no attempt to mislead anybody. These are not things that warrant no long spiel and no long conversation. But it tells you that when there is nothing to criticize about the performance of a government, you resort to little things. You start to major in minor things. Majoring in minor things. The truth is that Kelly Construction, and I spoke to my good friend Seamus in St. Kitts, and they are already engaged. In fact, I'm told that my good friend DC Dale Claxton is involved in terms of the clearing. Kelly Construction is going to be involved in terms of the let's see what they have here. The works. They're doing various works. They're doing the foundation works. They have experience with desal plants, so they're dealing with all of that. They're doing the studies, the design, the drawings. They have a whole schedule that they're proceeding with. Mascara will be using Kelly Construction for the soil and civil engineering work. That is what is happening. Mascara is the Middle East company that has the contract from the UAE to deal with this. They are a supplier of desalination equipment and all of that. So there's no effort to mislead anybody. Now there's again a level of confusion, because the honorable lady is saying that I say that desal is too expensive, and I still say it's expensive because of electricity, but this one is solar. And I said, but either they're not listening or they're not understanding. I confess, if I could speak Spanish or French or Arabic or Swahili or Mandarin, I would try that subject, that language, because it seems to me that ordinary English words with ordinary English meaning, people can't understand, even though they speak English. Because I spoke about 2 discrete things. We had 2 proposals for solar powered, 2 proposals for desalination plants. And I said that the costing was such that we may have to raise the cost of water by 5 times what it currently is. I said that. And I then went on to explain that the reason why desal was an expensive option was because of high maintenance of the plant and also because of the cost of electricity. That was a separate point to the point about this pilot project that I negotiated with the UAE for one in St. Kitts and one in Nevis, which are powered by solar, and I'm now hearing them suggesting that it could be hybrid, some solar and some diesel electricity. Two different topics. Now, if it's a pilot project, we understand it's a test project. It is something that is coming to determine will it work, can it work. That's why we have not made a big deal out of it. We don't know the level of water yet that it will produce and produce consistently. If the technology works and it can be powered by solar and be efficient and effective, then absolutely. It then becomes a more viable solution for us. But so long as we need to power Desal by diesel-powered electricity, we're going to have a problem. I went on in the press conference to say that that is one of the reasons why geothermal energy is so important for the island and for the country. Because it's important for St. Kitts too. Because once we can get the cheaper, cleaner energy that is geothermal, we could then power 100 desalination plant. The cost then becomes affordable. And that is our best solution because we are surrounded by ocean. I said all that. But in the rush, you see, to find something to say, in the absence of any ideas of their own, in the absence of any critical thinking, they can't even decipher and understand what it is they're hearing. So they start to make up stories and start to create alarm in the country about government trying to mislead. What is there to mislead? What is there to mislead our people about? This is a government that has been transparent. I'm the first premier in the history of this island that has a monthly press conference. NRP has been in, CCM has been in. We have had 3 premiers before me. And I was the first to introduce that. And I don't think we have missed one in the past 6 years. Every month I face the press. When I became premier, some advisors said to me, you must discontinue On the Mark. It will give too much exposure. You must now take a back seat, become less accessible. I said, no, I am going to go On the Mark and open the lines, and people must be able to question their premier. Ask a question and get an answer. I am accessible, I am transparent. This government is the hallmark of transparency. We operationalize integrity in public life. I hear other people talking about it. This year, I believe, was either the 3rd or 4th year that we had to file our assets and liabilities with the Integrity Commission. And when they call and tell you they want to see your bank account, they want this, they want that, we have complied and provided to them. Openness, transparency, that's what we have brought. And so when I hear people accusing me and the members of my government, some decent Hebrew boys and girls, of being opaque and trying to hide this and hide that, but then I realize that it is simply that they're either not listening or they're incapable of understanding what is being said to them. Incapable. In the old days, I used to call it hard head Harry. No matter how much the teacher tell you the sum, you can't get it. Hard head Harry, because you're explaining in ordinary language. Kelly Construction has a contract. Oh, he tried to mislead people because he said before Mascara. Well, Mascara has the overall contract. Kelly Construction is a subcontractor. What's so hard in that to understand? What's misleading about that? So if I say Dale is a contractor, where Dale is a subcontractor, he gonna do some work for Kelly. That's the nature of contracts. Everybody who understands projects understand how they work. Except, it seems, the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party. I keep telling people, you know, when you just wake up one morning and jump, say you're going into public life, you go and go, say you want to be the premier. You have done nothing in your life to prepare you. You just jump up and you get a couple people and they say, wait, let me go. Just the other day I was at a particular place and we had a discussion. And I asked the question of some 2 or 3 persons who were involved in that discussion. Could you tell me what the NRP ideas and commitments were in the last election here in Nevis to the people of Nevis? They say, what do you mean? I said, could you tell me what their ideas and commitments were? It is traditional that when a party is campaigning, a party tells the people what it will do if elected. I will build a bridge, I will build a road, I will open a school, I will build a hospital. What will you do if elected? For the first time in modern history, we had a party contest an election for the Nevis Island administration, and that party did not publish any ideas. No manifesto was published by the NRP. None. And one of the young people, they say, oh, they didn't put out anything because they say, I like to thief their ideas. I said, oh. So the people of Nevis were invited to vote on what exactly? On what? What were they invited to vote on? What were the set of commitments that were made? The vision that was outlined. Simply say, get rid of them. They mean they're long enough, get them out. Okay, get rid of them, get them out. But what are you going to do when you get in? No manifesto was published. And our people were asked nevertheless to go out and vote because you need to get rid of them. That was the manifesto. Get rid of them. So when you get rid of them, what are you now going to do? Are you going to do better? Are you going to do worse? Are you going to do the same? We don't know, because you never said. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is now part of our history. A party run a whole election and not make one commitment to the people of Nevis, not one page. Anybody out there could point me to the manifesto of the Nevis Reformation Party for the election of December 12, 2022. I would be grateful, because believe me, we searched for it. We wanted to see, well, okay, what is it you're telling the people of Nevis you're going to do? And the answer was nothing. Absolutely nothing. And when I was finished talking to these persons, you know, they recognized what I was saying, that the people of Nevis were taken for fools. Vote for me, I'm going to bring the ideas them after you don't vote for me. What so? What are people being asked to vote on? Get rid of them? That's it? And so we need, I believe, to be a bit more sensible in how we approach public life. And we need not to jump at every situation when it comes from our own lack of understanding, but rather sometimes to be quiet and learn. It is within all of us the capacity to learn. Even if we are hard-headed Harry, we can learn. Let me move on. I said last week was quite historic, because on Friday of last week we met with over 400 non-established workers at NEPAC. And Mr. Wakely Daniel, Permanent Secretary, and Mr. Colin Dorr, our Financial Secretary, took the time to explain to those non-established workers the details of the compensation retirement package that we put in place for them. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how proud I feel that I lead a government that has had the vision, the foresight, and the compassion to try to put something in place for our non-established workers. It has been years and years that people have been talking about it. But the truth is that many of our workers in government, who, because they didn't have the subjects or they came in late or whatever the reason, have worked and served and contributed to building this island. And when the years of service are over, they're given a handshake, maybe if they're lucky a plaque, and they're told, thank you for your service. And as the old people say, they leave with their two long hands. Some worked 40 years and left with nothing. And we thought that that should change. And so we put a committee in place, and that committee worked, and Friday we were able to hand out flyers and indicate to the people what the position is and what benefits they can expect. And so at 62, we're expecting non-established workers to move on into retirement and to benefit. Now this, of course, is in addition to what they would get from Social Security. So we are hopeful that the combination now of some payment from the government by way of pension and Social Security will make their lives in their golden years a lot easier. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you have governments that have the people at the center of what they do. I could have said, listen, no government before me has done it. And Nevis has had government since 1983, so forget about that. But that's not what we said. We sat down and notwithstanding how scarce the resources are, we said it is time to put something in place for our non-established workers. And I felt very proud, and I believe that the people in attendance felt good to know that finally a government has delivered for them. And I am sitting here this evening feeling humbled that I happen to be the person at this point in our history who has been able to lead that effort. I want to thank the cabinet, because the cabinet itself agonized over this, said let's find a way. We are the ones who decided to put this committee together. I want to thank the members of that committee. They worked hard. Permanent secretaries, all. And in addition to them, Gary Liebert, the man better known as Rockers, because of course he's an expert when it comes to labor matters and Social Security. And we put that all together. And today, our non-established workers could have some comfort that the government cares about them, and the government has put something in place to make their retirement a bit easier. Praise be to God. That is why people elect governments, you know. It is a commitment we made, and it's a commitment that we have kept. And so now those people can have the benefit of, we hope, an easier passage into retirement and later in life. I announced last week, I will do so again now because I think it is important, that we have installed brand new state-of-the-art mammogram testing, mammogram equipment at the Alexandra Hospital. We have decided that the cost will be $200 to get a mammogram done. However, in an interest of all the women in Nevis getting to know their status in relation to breast cancer, and with the understanding that breast cancer, if detected early, can be treated, we have decided to make that service free, F-R-E-E, free, for the rest of 2023. And so we're asking you to go to your doctor and to get your doctor to refer you to have a mammogram done before the end of this year. If you leave it until January next year, on the 1st of January, the cost will be $200 EC for the same examination. So we are asking you to use the opportunity while it is free to go and get your mammogram done. Find out your status. Please, we are putting these things in place because our health is our wealth. And as our foreparents taught us, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So go now and find out what your status is. We are investing in healthcare. We have continued to invest in healthcare. And we now have the state-of-the-art diagnostic tool to assist our women folk in detecting whether or not they have early signs of breast cancer. And so we ask you please to go and take advantage. Consult with your doctor and have your doctor make a referral so that you can go and have this done. For some women, they'd have to do it every 2 years, every 3 years, for others every year. But your doctor will guide you. And that service is now free at the Alexandra Hospital until the end of this year. We are also in the process of hiring a radiologist who we hope will be here soon, and we're in the process of hiring an additional surgeon whom we also hope to be here soon. We are investing in your health care because we know that this is important and that all of us, you, me, all of us, will at some point require the care of our doctors. And so that is what we've done. We've tried to solve the shortage of nurses by recruiting nurses from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Philippines. We've also invested in our own young people wanting to study nursing at CFBC. We are making a difference, and we will continue to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, there's much more I can talk about, but it is creeping up to 9 o'clock, and my soliloquies are now getting overly long. And so, I will open the line now for those who may wish to call and be a part of the show. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. And we go directly to the phone and say, good evening.
Miss Sheriff, good night.
You're on the mark. Good evening.
Good night, Miss Sheriff.
Good evening to you. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
James 4 verse 10 and 11. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother, and judgeth his brother, speaketh evil of the law, and judgeth the law. For if thou art a doer of the law, but a judge. Good night to Mr. Manners over there in Canada, he and my nephew. Miss Sheriff, you know why I hurt them? Because you and the PM is getting on along. Those in favor, I. Those against the I have it. Have a good night, and I love you. Bye.
Thank you so very much, and I'm truly grateful to hear you, and I love you too. And I'm happy to hear your voice as always. I've been sent some messages here, so let me report to the public that on Sunday the 4th of June, the Premier League football comes back to the Mondo track. Facility admission $15. Children under 12 years are free. If you're over 12, you pay $15. And we have the MFCR United Old Road Jets. They are coming up against Flow 4G Cairn Rockets. And we have Bath United coming up against Garden Hotspurs. Those are the two matches starting at 2 p.m. sharp, Sunday the 4th of June at the Mondo track. Did I read the right thing? Yes, I think I read the right thing. So that is coming up, and so we're asking, of course, one and all to go out and support now that we have Premier League football happening right here in Nevis. I also received an urgent message. They're trying desperately to get some A+ A positive blood at the Alexandra Hospital. Anyone who has that blood type A positive, can you please make yourself available in the morning at the Alexandra Hospital to assist someone who has a difficulty there. Let us be our brother's keeper, our sister's helper. So I invite you to go, please, tomorrow morning, bright and early. If you have A positive blood, they need someone to donate at the Alexandra Hospital. The numbers again are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. We have an hour to go, and unless you want me to talk ad nauseum, I would ask that you call and be a part of the program. Now, while we wait for the calls to come, let me just comment on a video that I think we all saw involving a fight at our high school, one of our high schools here, the Charleston Secondary School. It appeared as if a group of children were attacking one young female child. I did report on it in my press conference that was held yesterday, but just to say that the education officials take this matter very seriously. As a government, we are committed to safe schools, and I'm told that disciplinary action has already been taken, and more action will be taken as necessary as, of course, the investigation unfolds. And so we would want, again, to appeal to our young people to act responsibly to avoid this culture of aggression that some of them are exhibiting. And I want to also appeal to the parents. You know, we live in a curious society. Children go to school and children fight in school. They fight each other. And most of the public's wrath is directed at the government. In fact, some started abusing me as if I was in school fighting, or I told somebody to fight, or I encouraged somebody to fight. I'm asking our parents to shoulder their responsibility. Yes, the school has a role to play. Yes, the teachers have a role to play. But you parents, you bring them. They're your children. And you have the primary role to play to ensure that your children are raised in a way that they can understand and deal with conflict. And I say these things all the time. People don't like it when I say that we must be responsible. You cannot decide to have children and then expect that someone else will have the responsibility for your children. You can't just drop them off at school and it is now the teachers who must train them and guide them and do everything with them. You have a responsibility as well. And you must create the type of environment for your children, the type of home, the type of training, the type of discipline that your children know what is right and what is wrong, and know what behavior is correct and what behavior is incorrect. And if you're having issues, parents, we have a host of support services in the government, counseling and otherwise, social services and otherwise, that are available to you. But please, I am asking you to shoulder your responsibility. And a lot of young people out there, if you don't have children yet, think long and hard before you get them. Think long and hard before you get them. Some of you having children because you say they're cute. They're cute, Lord. The baby's so cute. Me want one. What you think is a pet? Now, so children working on children are a lifetime commitment. And so a lot of times I find that we're adopting a wrong approach, where everybody else is responsible except us. But did you get them? And therefore it is your responsibility to guide them and to be in their lives. I have said, parents, you need not be perfect, but you need to be present. You need not be perfect, but you need to be present. You need to be in your children's lives. And you need to guide them and mold them in such a way that we have less and less of this type of behavior in our schools and in our public spaces. I have made the same comment in relation to some of the criminal elements. So what you all think? The mother don't know they got gun? The father don't know that they have gun? Some of them is right in the house where they live with their mother that they might hide the gun. And I have heard with mine own ears mothers bring down all God, say how them pick me a saint when them know the child is a sinner. We have a responsibility. And too often, y'all want to blame the government, blame the school, blame the teachers, blame, cuss everybody. But nobody is saying, what are you doing in the home? Where the primary responsibility lies. As I said, you bring them. They didn't ask you to bring them, you know. You went out there to go look for them. So you bring them. You have a responsibility to them. Do the right thing. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Okay, good evening. I just wanted to call in and, chime in on what you've just been saying. Of course, this is Troy Libert. And, of course, I also want to extend my congratulations to the whole Anglican fraternity here on Nevis. It was a wonderful ordination ceremony. Of course, I myself wanted to be there this afternoon, but unfortunately I could not make it. Something came up, just prior to the service, and so I was able to catch a piece of the service on the online stream on YouTube. Thank God for technology. nowadays we're able to view everything. So I just want to extend my congratulations. I think it was a wonderful ceremony. So kudos to the entire Anglican community here on Nevis. Also, Premier, I want to congratulate the the drag racing, SKN drag racing. They had a wonderful event over the holiday weekend. I don't think I've seen a crowd that they had something similar to what we would call an inter-primary crowd there on Sunday for the drag racing. And of course, the Ministry of Sports would have assisted quite a bit in making that event happen. But I want to say kudos to the Drag Racing Association and to all of the drag racers, and congratulations to all of those who won. Premier, you spoke a little bit about the incident that took place at the Charleston Secondary School, and the fact that there was a video in circulation. That video has gone, all over social media. I have fielded a lot of calls from different persons about what happened. I want the general public to know that the Ministry of Education, and by extension the entire government, that we take the education of our children and our young people seriously, and that we have said that we want our schools to be a safe zone for young people. We want our children to go to school in an environment that they can feel safe and that they can feel protected. Of course, we know that these are young people. They're going to be interacting with one another, and we're going to have tempers that play up from time to time. And of course, the teachers won't be in every single classroom at every single time. The incident that we saw going out on the internet, that incident occurred shortly after the school was coming back from a program on the netball court. So the students would have been in the classroom unsupervised for a little while. It was just before the lunchtime hour, so they would have been in the classroom unsupervised, and unfortunately we had the incident happen. The incident is under investigation. The principal, I would have met with the principal myself and the permanent secretary, also the principal education officer. We would have met with the principal of the school and gotten her feedback on what happened. Certainly some disciplinary measures would have to be put in place to deal with the students involved. And we want the general public to know that we take these things very seriously. Our schools should be no violence, no fighting zone. And that's what we want to promote. Of course, I heard you earlier calling on the parents, and it is definitely necessary for the parents to be involved with the students. We need the 100% support of our parents, to back up the teachers, to back up the principal. It certainly can't be done by the teachers and the principal and the ministry alone. We need the buy-in of the parents. Discipline in our students is something that discipline starts at home. I remember when I was a youngster growing up, certainly, when you go to school and you get yourself in any mischief, you get punished in school. But the punishment in school was the mild punishment. It's when you go home that the real punishment starts. Once the parents know that you were involved in anything that you should not be involved in any bad behavior or anything like that. There are many stories that persons could recall where they go home and they get a second set of punishment, and the parents set a certain standard that the students know that they have to abide by. And we need a lot more of this in our school. Of course, we know it's modern time, it's a modern age, and a lot has changed in the way that parents and students interact and teachers and so on, how they interact with students. A lot of change. And we are trying to be modern with the times. But we have to understand that in our schools, there still has to be that element of discipline. School is about learning. Of course, in these days, teachers have been trying to make it as fun as possible. I mean, the students, before that event happened, they were at a little rally type of thing in the netball complex celebrating the, I think it's the 73rd anniversary of the school. So it was a fun event for the students. So it's not that the students are in school and they don't have any time to go out and do anything. Schools have been, going the extra mile to ensure that the students have what they would call a wholesome environment. And so we want the students and the parents as much as possible to cooperate with the schools. Of course, where incidents happen, then we would have to deal with the incidents. Where students are responsible for infractions or violations, then we have to take those seriously and we have to deal with them. But as much as possible, we want to have our schools run in an incident-free way. Can you hear that?
Yes, man, I'm listening to you.
Okay.
I'm listening. I mean, sometimes when I hear the experts speaking, I don't interrupt because what you're saying is really so important. And the fact that our children, they say it takes a village, it takes a whole community, but it starts at home. It starts at home. And when the children are dropped off, they're coming from home, and when they go back home, so the teachers are, in my view, doing their best. But the support system has to be there. We have had number of cases where teachers have been accosted by parents because they try to discipline the children, and the parent come to school to accost the teacher. Those are things that well, you and I are from different generations, but certainly in my time that would be unheard of. Right? So we really need to bring our parents back on board and to let them understand that they have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. Because they cannot simply, because I looked at that video and horrible as it was, but the commentary on it, people were blaming the government, blaming the minister, and of course I get blamed for everything, so blame the premier, right? So I should have been up at school telling the children not to fight and, oh my goodness, stop the fight. I should be the security guard. I should be everywhere. But nobody is saying, well, who are the parents for the children? And what are the parents doing about curbing aggressive behavior in these children? I don't know who instigated the fracas, but whoever instigated it, it was a bad look. It was a terrible look. And we need to inculcate in our children that they must behave properly, but it is a shared responsibility. The teacher has his or her role, the parent has his or her role as well. And I think we need to insist that everybody plays their role.
Okay. Premier, it definitely has to be teamwork. It has to be the entire community working together. Certainly, I mean, our generations are not too far apart, because I remember going to school, you couldn't let certain people see you misbehaving even on the road. If you misbehave and somebody on the road saw you, they would call the parents if they know the parents, and that would be enough.
Minister Leiber, let me tell you, in my day, if we went into town, Charlestown, in our uniform during school hours, believe me, and we didn't have no cell phone and thing then. But when I got home, my mother would ask me, what you were doing down in town? You better have had a good explanation why you left the school. And I consider myself a big man those days. I'm in sixth form. But, the society was different. People now would see the children misbehaving and walk past as if nothing is happening. So, I believe that it is time that all of us sort of sing from the same hymn sheet in relation to these matters. And I'm not trying to say that our school shouldn't be safe and be a safe environment, or that parents shouldn't feel comfortable when they drop off their children, that their children are going to be safe. But at the same time, our parents need to own up to their own responsibility as well and work with the teachers, work with the Ministry and Department of Education to ensure that their children get the very best out of the system.
A lot is being done in the schools nowadays. We have security guards. Certainly in my time, we never had security guards in school. We have counselors and so on. Certainly in my time, I don't think we had counselors. We had teachers. You went to school and you were taught the math and the English and the science. I mean, in my case, the chemistry and the physics and those type of things. And we never had counseling sessions and so on. All of those things are available now because we recognize that mental health is also important. We have security guards and all of these type of things because we realize it is necessary. Most of our school compounds are now properly fenced and so on, and students have to go into the main gate or whatever the case may be. A lot has been done to ensure that our schools are safe zones. But we are asking certainly for the cooperation of the general public, cooperation of our parents, to cooperate with the teachers, cooperate with the principals. Of course, there are times when a parent would have to come and stand up for their child. Nobody's saying that that any parent should allow their child to be, what they would consider to be wrong or anything like that. But we are asking that, sometimes we have incidents happen at school that could be dealt with quite easily, and the parents come up and they seek to escalate the incident. So we're asking for the parents to really work with schools and to cooperate with the schools. Remember that the school is all about getting that education for your child, so that once your child comes out of school with the requisite amount of subjects and so on, that they can go out there and really be a contributor to the society, help us to build Nevis into the Nevis that we want to see into the future. Of course, a lot of persons who have come up before and are the movers and the shakers and the leaders in the island of Nevis, they were educated in our very same schools. And so we want to ask the public for that support, ask the public to certainly work with our teachers, work with the schools where there are issues, call and talk to the principal, call and talk to the teachers, and let's all work together as much as possible.
All right. Thank you very much, the Honorable Troy Libert, our Minister of Education, calling in and shedding some light.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing the show and sharing your views. I think very important views. And thank you for the excellent work you and your team are doing in education. I think everybody's seeing the transformation. Particular commendation on that STEM week that was held. I think that you and your team captured the attention of the public. It was an exciting event, and I'm grateful for the work that you're doing, and of course to our sponsors and partners who made it possible. I believe the credit union there in St. Kitts, the name slips me at the moment. Is it called Federal Credit Union, I think? And of course the Republic of China, Taiwan. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. We've lost that caller. Caller, please call back. We have a call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Brantley, good night.
Good night to you, brother.
How are you doing?
I am well. Good to hear you. What's happening?
All right. Remember, Brantley, I believe, right, that it is for the parent to inculcate into their children good behavior, or what I call good morals and acceptable behavior. I do not really believe that is the work so much of the school. Yes, the school may help, but I believe those children should leave at home with those qualities already in them. I tell you something, Premier Brantley. You mentioned earlier that some people say, no, the children are nice and they are fluffy and everything and all those things. And those things are true. I have 4. And everybody loves their children. But I'm going to tell you something. When parents don't teach their children good morals and acceptable behavior, they're really doing an injustice to the children. to me, Brantley. And it's not because the parent want to do it, because they love their children. But sometimes I don't know whether they think this, because when those children start displaying unacceptable behavior, it starts to pile up, and after a while, it becomes a danger to the very child itself, because they may endanger themselves, even their life. You know that, Brantley? Hello?
Yes, man, I'm listening to you.
So, it is very, very important that parents teach their children how to conduct themselves, because as the children, as you allow one behavior that is unacceptable, 2, 3, after a while, I have 4 children myself. After a while, the children start feeling that this is acceptable behavior, because you allow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it keep going up. And after a while, the children are learning. They're now developing. They're now being developed so that they're learning. And as you allow it, the children start to think, well, this is acceptable behavior. So what happened? When it gets too far now, and you try now to discipline the child gets angry, because the child wants to know, well, what is this? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I am saying to the parent, for your child good, for your good, because you don't want your child to develop certain behaviors that would endanger your child later on in life. So, do your best to teach your children good manners and acceptable behavior in your home, so that when they go out into the society, they will demonstrate that. Because as I say over again, the more they display these bad behaviors, they are also endangering themselves, you see. Because you might, as you say, you go out there, you get into a fight, you possibly can get stabbed, you see. Then the child is sick, the parent is grieving. So it behooves the parent to do their best. I know some parents are doing their best, but I'm just saying, I'm calling upon all parents.
Of course.
To do their best to try to train their children at home. The school and the society can pick up some of the slack and help, but you need to train them. I tell you something else. As you allow, you buy a small puppy. You buy a small puppy and you have it in the home and so on, it comes in nice. But as you allow 1, 2, 3, 4 bad behavior, after a while the puppy turn around and do what? Bite you. Bite you. So, let us be careful with what we're doing. Remember, you were saying something else there earlier, right? About some people just want to criticize, right? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I have been an employer from around 1985. I've employed people in Nevis, in Tatola, in St. Thomas, in New York City. So, I think I learn a little bit about human behavior, as I have to employ so many different people. Okay? And one of the things that I learned is after me as the leader, wake up 3 and 4 o'clock early in the morning, put plans in order as to what I'm going to do tomorrow. When I reach on the site tomorrow and everybody want to come with their own ideas, although I agree, many times you will have to listen to different ideas. I agree with that too. However, I am saying, when I don't sit down, think to something carefully, and come up with certain ideas that I'm going to do tomorrow morning. When I go there tomorrow morning, I am going to conduct myself as the leader. And I am not going to stay there all day and listen to what everybody else is saying when I don't get up early in the morning, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and sit down carefully and plan out. Mind you, I am not saying that there is not time for that where you listen.
Sure.
That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying leadership is to lead. Everybody cannot lead. If everybody lead, you have chaos.
Of course.
You have chaos. Yes, sometimes you can sit down and discuss and come to a consensus. But in general, after a while, leadership have to lead. And so when everybody is out there, I going to get steadfast with my plans that I have in place and ignore the noise. Good night.
All right, brother. Thank you very much, and I think you're absolutely correct. While you were speaking, I got a message, and a very dear friend of mine, a good pastor friend, he said, please remind the public of Proverbs 22:6. And Proverbs 22:6, we all grew up with it. He said, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. I believe that is almost the same thing that you were saying, caller. Train up the child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. The Bible tells us so. So, I'm not saying anything here that we don't already know. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable Brantley.
Good evening to you.
And good evening to the listeners home and abroad. Paul Brown here from Fountain, Ghana, part-time Kinky. Mr. Brantley, on the school fights, because we have been very regular here in Kinkit, we even have the adults now fighting at function, well, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
What you suggest that we do, because they are mashing up people entertainment. Imagine you bringing stars from overseas, paying them these loads of money. You bring stars from all parts of the federation to perform and to portray their talent and thing. And half an hour into your thing, you don't spend over $50,000 and more, maybe hundreds of thousands and more, and then your function is break up or stop. Don't you think that we are supposed to put some strict measures in place that if you disrupt anybody's function that you go to jail and you pay some form of financial reward back to the people who you disrupt the function? And in terms of school fighting, don't you think we should start some anger management classes in our schools? Because our children seem to have a serious anger management problem. Everything is about violence. That's the way they tend to settle any disagreement between them now. So my suggestion is that we start some anger management classes on the school curriculum. The other thing is, I have a problem with Parliament when it is being shown on the different television station here. When a member stands up and he or she to speak, you're not seeing the name of the member and the part that the person represents. Why is that? Not because a lot of people would be watching home and abroad and don't know who Mark Brantley is representing and what position that Mark Brantley hold or any other members. ZIZ should have on the Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis opposition leader.
Got you. I wasn't aware.
Yes?
I thought they had the constituency that you represent.
No, it's not on.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's not on, and that should be there. It should have the name of the representative and the ministry the whole and what position the whole in the parliament, whether opposition member or government member.
Got you. Well, I really didn't know that. So you've opened my eyes tonight. So I will.
Yes, I was watching it when they were doing the bills on Thursday, and saying all you could hear the speaker saying, member from number 11, I see you. Thank you, member from number 11. But who is member from number? She would say the Honorable Mark Brantley. But what position do the Honorable Mark Brantley hold?
I see.
What position Dr. Drew holds?
Got you. Okay. All right.
Right, so you all could please correct that and put some adjustment to that, please. And one last thing.
we are building a lot of houses, and we calling them projects, right? And we are saying that 2025 we are going into food security. Why not building these projects that we also put some form like Kittyson Hill of agricultural produce farming that produce some form of agricultural food in that same area? Because we're taking up all the land, we are building all kind of houses, all kind of businesses, but we are not putting in any section for in terms of agricultural produce and things like that. If like what we do cherry garden should have a section with provision and vegetables, and so you produce food in that same area basis under the Ministry of Agriculture, because we are saying we want food security by 2025. And one last thing, the monkey money there that they're putting into agriculture and saying we want food security by 2025, that can't work in here, Honorable Mark Brantley. The monkey money there, the box of matches money there can't do nothing to produce food security by 2025, because we less than a year and a half, we are a year and a half away to that. And we got two more budget, and if we're going to put them box of matches money there to agriculture, that can't work, By 2025 we're not going to ready, and we're not going to be nowhere near there with the box of matches money we're putting into agriculture.
Okay, so all right, well, thank you very much. That's a big box of matches though, because quite a bit of money goes into agriculture. But I do see the point that you're making about doing more. And I feel that we need to prioritize some areas, and if indeed we are serious about food security, I could understand the argument that you're making that we need to give it greater prominence and greater priority in terms of our budgetary process. Understand, however, that the way budgets work is that once you give one area a bit more, oftentimes you have to give some other area a bit less, and that is the way it works. So is it necessary to invest more in agriculture? I think yes. Is it necessary for our farmers and fisher folk and all of those to be able to produce more? Yes. So if we're going to get to that point of food security, although I think 2025 is unrealistic, I will say that, but if we're going to get there, then we have to continue to invest. That's why in Nevis we have taken a very robust approach. Next time you come over, my brother, you should go to the Indian Castle Fruit Orchard to see what we're doing down there. This was the brainchild of the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and really a legacy project. We have a young man there, Banky Ronald King, who has been supervising that project and doing an excellent job, he and his team. We have the PS, of course, the Huey Sargent, and the director, Mr. Randy Elliott of Agriculture. All of these have been really doing their part in ensuring that we have greater food security. We've also pivoted very hard towards technology. So a lot of shade houses are now, in fact, Nevis is one of the leading, we're told, in the Eastern Caribbean islands dealing with shade house and production, shade house production. Let's go back to the phones. We have 25 minutes left. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good night to you.
Good night to you as well.
And I'm just calling to say hi and welcome to you. May God continue to shower his unconditional love, blessing, and prosperity over you and the other members of the CCM party as you take care of the affairs of Nevis and its people. You are doing a good job. You are God sent. Love you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you too. Thank you so much for your call and for your kind words of encouragement. They mean a lot to me. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to On the Mark. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Now, some good news to report. I believe that many of you driving on the bypass road would have been complaining that road, which was done, I believe, over 20 years ago, that it has fallen into some state of disrepair. Well, we have finally come to an agreement in relation to that road, and if you see that some markings have already started being done, some preliminary work has already started, we hope that that road will be resurfaced from Pinnies, where it joins the Island Main Road, all the way around to Penniless or thereabouts on the Pump Road. And so we are hopeful that we will have that done in short order, and it is again a demonstration that the government responds. We are responsive, and what we're seeking to do is to systematically improve the infrastructure on the island. We have completed now the balance of the Island Main Road, bringing relief to the people in the north of the island, and we are now embarking on that bypass road in bringing some relief to motorists. It is one of the most used roads on the island, so we look forward certainly to that project coming off very soon. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hi, good night.
Good night, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm just here to give a little brief remark based on the video that's circulating.
Yes.
I just want to let everyone to know, please stop tarnishing the children's name based off one video, okay? That's all I want you guys to do.
Okay.
And stop making it a big political matter. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't know that it's political, but I'm sorry you're gone, because I really would have liked to engage you a bit.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you're still here? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for staying on. I don't know if it's so much political. We understand that people are going to make noise and lay blame, but I think that you would agree with me that the video shows behavior that really is not acceptable. Do you accept that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So we really are talking now about how we try to find solutions so that we don't have reoccurrences of that. In fact, yes, go ahead.
Yes. But after how much fights are happening at the school, why is it now that you guys are choosing to take action?
But I don't think that is strictly accurate. I think action is taken after every incident. I remember in
With
fact
all the gang fights and stuff at the school?
Well, I confess that some of it doesn't always come to public attention because there's no video.
Right.
There's no video circulating.
Exactly.
Right. So it means that what has happened here is because this was captured on video and the video went viral, that everybody naturally is opining and weighing in on it because everybody would have seen it. I am pretty sure that fights will happen which are not captured, and so those don't get the attention of the public like this one has. But those, as far as I understand it from the Ministry of Education and from the schools, that whenever there are incidents of any violence, then those are dealt with. People are suspended. People have even been expelled from school. So action, I know, has been taken. The issue for me is bigger than that. The issue is really how do we try to prevent this from happening.
And that's what we should be working on.
Well, I agree with you on that. You're not going to get any argument from me.
We cannot tarnish the children's name, especially if we do not know who they are as individuals.
Well, I believe that the individuals, so I'm told, the report that I saw suggests that those involved have in fact been identified. Some have had some disciplinary action. Others have been subjected to counseling because we feel that there's a need that all involved would get some counseling, and so that is happening.
Involved should be counseled and talked to and stuff like that, not just those who are penalized by the public.
No, yes, go ahead, Cole. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, so I'm actually agreeing with you, because that's one of the things that we've said, that we have to provide some counseling for those, because even those who weren't strictly involved in it, obviously experiencing it might have been traumatic for them as well. And we need to have counseling because we need to, as much as we can, encourage our young people to find alternative ways to resolve disputes.
Yes, I agree. But all I'm saying, stop tarnishing the children's name. And the society doesn't even know the facts, and they're just painting all the children black and calling them bullies and stuff. And they do not know the individuals. They do not know personally.
Yeah, well, again, you I believe will understand that sometimes all that one gets is that 10-second or 12-second clip. So you don't know what happened before.
You can analyze the video, but if you watch the video closely, The children did not start the fight.
Well, that is sometimes the issue. But let me be quick to say, whoever started the fight, there should have been no fight. Because at the end of the day, as I said, we need to find alternative ways, and we need to train our children that there is sometimes they need to walk away, to go to the principal's office, to allow the school to deal with matters rather than resorting to fighting, because fighting can lead to a lot of other things. If you take objects, for example, can become weapons, and you then have a bigger problem on your hand of children actually being hurt. So I'm happy that nobody was actually hurt, and as I said, our objective now is to see how we can prevent these events from occurring in the future.
Yes, I agree.
Okay?
But they need to stop tarnishing the children's name. I don't like that part.
All right.
Well, everyone needs to remember that they're all children.
Well, I think your message is loud and clear, and thank you for calling. Okay?
People of St. Kitts and Nevis, please, I am begging you guys, stop tarnishing the children's name. Thank you. Good night.
Well, thank you very much for your call. Thank you for staying on the line and having a conversation. I don't know the voice, but you sound like a young person, so I'm delighted that you listen and that you've called, because this is a problem that all of us must confront together. But again, I say, it is important that when we see bad behavior, we call it for what it is, but more importantly, we seek to see how we can prevent it happening in the future. That is going to be very important, and that is what we're seeking to do. I'm told that some disciplinary action has been taken, but also that we're offering counseling to the students who have been involved, and indeed for students who need counseling. And so that is the case. I'm told that the student who was the one, I suppose, on the receiving end of that video, that student as well has been subject and offered counseling. So we are hopeful that through intervention, through these efforts, we will make a difference. But caller, thank you very much for the call. I like when young people engage. I think it's a very important thing, and certainly if there are other young persons out there with a view, I would encourage them to call as well. Again, the numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. We have 15 minutes or so to go, so if there are persons out there who would like to call, the lines are open. While we wait for the phones to ring, however, let me go back to what I was saying in terms of the infrastructural build-out on this island. I believe that persons now driving the island main road will have a pleasant experience throughout the island of Nevis. Whichever part of the island you're driving, the road now is really in tip-top shape. I understand that the markings and all of that will be done. They're allowing the asphalt to settle for a bit before they do that, but we want to thank Surrey Paving for the work that they did on the northern side of the island, and that has now provided relief to the people of St. James, etc. The Bath Village, that project has also gone remarkably well, I believe. In fact, I have up on my Facebook page now an aerial shot taken of Bath Village, and several people have reached out to me to say they don't recognize Bath anymore. That's what we're doing. The metropolis of Bath is being transformed. And what I'm happy about is that that's being done by Public Works, and a lot of fellas in Bath have gotten a bite of that cherry over there. Brutlers is also coming to a close, and we are now saying that we're going to start the bypass road to bring some relief there as well. Thank you to the Honorable Spencer Brand and his team. They continue to do an excellent job. Let's go back to the phones. Say good evening. You're on the mark.
Brantley, I just wanted to say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
My belief, right, is that discipline, right, when you're disciplining children, right, your main objective is not just to punish, but it should be to encourage corrective behavior in them. So your approach is very important, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that, and so that especially some of the younger parents, because I find that sometimes they allow things to go for a long time, and then, they try to discipline in anger when they get frustrated. So I just want to remind everybody that, to me, discipline really is to encourage corrective behavior, and so you also take the right approach. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Well, I think I agree with your call. There's a difference between discipline and abuse.
Yeah.
Because I think some people resort to abusive behavior. Now, if you're trying, for example, to say to your child that they ought not to be violent, then you have to be careful that you don't, in telling them that, treat them with violence.
Yeah.
So, there are different ways that you can discipline a child. You can take away certain privileges that they may have.
Yeah.
I know, for example, when I was small, well, I used to get the belt, yes, but sometimes my mother said you can't leave the yard.
Yeah.
And when you want to go and pitch marble and play cricket and go with your friends, that's worse than getting the belt, because so there are different ways to think. And I feel that the problem that we have, I watched a comedian the other day. I watched a lot of comedy because I learn a lot, because they make jokes about everyday situations.
Yeah.
And the comedian said that he don't understand how people raising children nowadays. And he said he was at somebody's house and the person asked the children what they want to eat. Right?
Yeah.
And he said all his years growing up, he mother never asked him once yet what he want to eat. He mother tell him breakfast is ready.
Yeah.
Lunch is ready. And whatever breakfast or lunch, that is what you have to eat.
You have to use.
Right?
Yeah.
No children, if you have 3 children in the house, you ask them what they want to eat. Each one say you want something different. So you become a short order cook. One want pancake, one want eggs, and one want something else. So the point is interesting how we have sort of moved away from a lot of norms. And listen, I don't know if you remember, but my very first contribution in the national parliament, when I became a parliamentarian there in 2007.
I wasn't here then.
Okay. Well, my very first contribution involved a bill that was introduced by the then Denzel Douglas-led government. And that bill, in part, said that they were putting these counselors in the schools. And if your child engaged with a counselor, that you could not find out as the parent from the counselor what your child discussed unless the child gave permission. And I stood up and I said, no, something got to be wrong with that. But you see, a lot of how we've lost our way is that we keep having these consultants come from America and Canada, but they're bringing their ideas and saying that these are now best practices.
Yeah.
So you can't discipline your child, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other.
Yeah.
Right? And that is part now and parcel of the situation where everybody now is so consumed with all the rights that people have.
How much rights everybody have rights today, right? Yeah.
You see, so that is the situation.
Yeah, but you see, also, right, asking the children sometimes what they want is not always bad, but it depends on the kind of relationship that you have with the children all along, you see? And that is part of the thing again, that you have to have a good relationship with them all along, so that by talking with them and so on and being with them, they kind of know what to expect from you, and you kind of know what to expect from them too. You see, and another thing I want to say too is with discipline again. You want to explain to the child again too that you don't want to punish them. The reason why you're disciplining them is because you want them to do the correct thing. So you explain the reason why the discipline was administered, not just do it alone, but tell them, you're not going to be able to see TV for whatever amount of time or whatever, because I want you to change that bad habit that you have. So don't just administer alone, but explain to them why, you see, so that they would understand it's not that you're against them. So they understand the reason why. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah. So that is something else that, I know the older parent them know these, but I'm saying these things for the younger parent them. Yeah, anyway, you have a good night, eh?
Well, thank you, brother, and thank you for calling back in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
I think that these are pearls of wisdom that people should listen to. And I don't want parents out there to feel that they're under attack, you know. I understand it's stressful. I understand sometimes you're working 2 jobs, trying to put food on the table. I understand some single mothers. You don't have the support of the fathers. I understand some single fathers. They don't have the support of the mothers. So I appreciate that they're precious. But what we're saying is that you also have to understand that that child is your responsibility. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, ma, good evening. And how are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you, brother?
Well, I'm doing excellent.
Good to hear your voice. Good to hear your voice.
Well, there's so much that you would have put on the table, and many contributors this evening and this very important program. And it's always a very good thing when you have discussion, interaction, which is in the best interest of this country. I can say I don't really know about you, but I love this country really, really bad. And what is in the best interest of St. Kitts and Nevis always is what I will support. I just want to say that we're at the end of May, which means officially we start the hurricane season for 2023 tomorrow. And my prayers really go out seriously to this country, that the Master will really look over our nation and protect our people, because when you have storm, that can really create a lot of harm. And I don't mind that he opened his clouds and pour his blessings, which is something that we definitely need. I don't mind the water, but I just hope that the wind will stay away. But as you continue to touch, unfortunately we're getting close to the end of the program. There's a reason also why I call, which I will get to that. But there's so much that we have to continue to discuss, because we have the situation with the cost of living, we have the situation with crime, we have the situation with weak parenting. I mean, there's so much that we have to continue to discuss, and we have to continue to ask the people to let them understand, because the only right a man has a right to do is what is right. And
I like that.
Right,
say it again for us. What do you say?
I said the only right a man has a right to do is what is right.
Wow.
So no one, no man, no child, no leader, no government has the right to do what is wrong.
Indeed.
Right? So if the children understand, because if you don't have a fight, if you don't contribute in the fight, you will not have a fight, because it takes more than one to have a fight. So as long as you choose to stay away, then you will not be involved, which means you are actually making the right decision and doing what is in the best interest of you and also your thing. Mark, we have communities. Unfortunately, we have too many buildings in communities which are not home. And people think that because there is a building, it is a home where people are living. Unfortunately, there are so much problems we have in these homes. Lack of leadership, lack of vision, lack of parenting, lack of compassion, lack of love. There's so much that create, and then you have the dieting problem, where, as I said, there are people who think they have the right to eat bad, but there's no benefit in eating bad. They eat bad and still feel glad. So all of these continue to contribute, because the brain are not fed properly. A lot of the brains in our community and across the world are not fed properly. And speaking of feeding, because there are many people who die daily around the world, millions. And the 10 richest men in the world can feed the rest of the world. Too many people have riches. People are dying, because because of hunger, and you have people who are not contributing to people who really have needs. So I just really want us to really get our act together in terms of parenting, because that is a serious problem.
How do you respond? How do you respond to the parent who says, you know, I'm a single parent? Many of our households are led by single mothers. I'm working one job by day. I'm working a side hustle at nights because I'm trying to provide for my children. I'm trying to pay the rent. I'm trying to pay the light bill and trying to put clothes on their back and food in their belly. And that means I don't have time to spend home with them. How do you answer that? Because, you know, we used to have grandmothers and things, you know. Those are not in existence anymore in the same way. What I mean by that is, you know, grandma used to be, you leave the child there and you know the child had, you know, the correct upbringing because grandma insisted they went to church and they did all the necessary. You know, things now are different.
Yes, very important question, and we can't, you know, answer this question in less than 5 minutes. But you asked a very important question, and that is what I said. If families are weak, mean that communities would be weak. And if the communities are weak, which means the country would be weak, because that is what make up the country, the communities. And what make up the communities, the families. And who are part of the family is the parent, right? So it's important to have the leadership where, I mean, there's so much problem that contribute to where children and parents, that is why it's important for people, because yes, there are times when people get children the wrong age, for the wrong reason, with the wrong person, at the wrong time, right? So it's important for people to make sensible and mature decision. It's not everybody qualified to be a parent. Some people happen to be involved, and that is why they become a parent, not because they qualify, are they ready, or they have what it takes, because they are the one who are major contributing to the problem which we are having today. But I mean, this is something that we would expound on another time. I just want to say that the People's Action Movement, the best party in the Federation, is having its annual convention, which takes place at the party's headquarters on Sunday starting from 2 p.m. There's a lot definitely in store for this excellent event. The People's Action Movement have done, and I am so proud in terms of the record, whether in government or out of government.
Okay.
Right? So I invite the country to come and to be a part of what should be an experience and Sunday, so we can have a wonderful time as a party. And I just want to say quickly,
The time is up, brother, so you got to be very quick.
yeah,
30 seconds.
The party boasts in having 90 years. 90 years as a party. They have no political headquarters, no home, and nobody should be boasting in terms of 90 years and they don't have any home.
Okay.
But we will get into that another time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
God
you very
bless
much.
you, and God bless this proud country of St. Kitts and Nevis.
All right, thank you. God bless you as well. You've taken us across the 10 o'clock hour, but we wanted you to finish your thought. So the band has struck up. It means we have to go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all of you who tuned in. Big tune from This and That. I really wanted to end the show with that. It wasn't possible. So King, please forgive me. But I certainly feel that this is a calypso that will be well listened to. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Von Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. Thank you. Good night. God bless you.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views